Welcome back to Gun and Shot TV. This is Chris. Today I was going to talk about something I think some of you newer people getting into guns might be interested in, and that is wall hangers. That's a term you see thrown around quite a bit, and it can mean a lot of different things. In this case, I've got a H&R 32 wall hanger, I'll call it. It's an old break top 32 H&R. It's missing the pawl to turn the cylinder. It's missing some screws. It's missing some springs. It's missing a whole bunch of stuff. Now this gun would probably be safe to fire. The barrel is actually super clean. It's got decent rifling in it. But the gun itself isn't actually worth enough that it's worth fixing. So, what do you do with it? It's kind of a neat piece of history or a neat paperweight. But by the time you spent the money to fix it and fire it, it's not worth it. So, most people would declare this a wall hanger, and what that means is you just hang it on the wall. It's not, it's not worth fixing, or it's not safe to fire, and so it's just more of a prop or a memento of some sort. So, other things that you'll see described as wall hangers would be guns that are really rusty to the point where they're damaged, guns that were demilitarized or welded shut. You'll see that sometimes where the barrel's been filled with lead or something to seal it, or just cut or drilled. Sometimes you'll see stuff like that. You also see guns that are unsafe to fire just because of what they are. One really common one is Damascus twist shotguns. Before they had the ability to really truly drill straight on a long piece of metal stock, what they would do is they would take 2 strips or more of metal and wrap it around a mandrel, which is just a piece of rod essentially. And they'd wrap that slowly around, intertwining it and welding those pieces together. And that would make this barrel shape out of 2 different pieces of steel or more that were welded together. For black powder loads, especially at that time, you wouldn't have an issue. So like you'll see a lot of shotguns with Damascus barrels. The problem is with modern smokeless loads, if you fire that, there's a good chance those welds are going to blow up. And in fact, many of those guns, those welds have deteriorated due to corrosion over the years. So you'll quite often see guns like that used as wall hangers or described as wall hangers just because they're not safe to fire. Now, if it is a piece that you'd like to shoot, there are ways around that. Like this gun, if this were my grandpa's or had some sort of sentimental value, I may in fact think that it's worth it to find all the parts and get it working. That's your decision. For classic shotguns, some of them were worth enough that you're probably better off just selling it and buying 15 new guns. But if it was an heirloom that was passed down or something like that, what you can do is they can do what's called sleeving, and that's where they'll actually put a smaller barrel inside of that barrel. So sometimes if the barrel's thick enough, you can grind out what you have and sleeve that. But sometimes what you'll actually need to do is go with a smaller. But like on a 12 gauge shotgun, you can put in a 16 or 20 gauge barrel inside that barrel, and then have grandpa's old shotgun, and you can still shoot it. But like I said, usually with wall hangers, it's going to be something you're going to find at a gun show, on a junk table or something like that. And it is a gun, and you could technically shoot it if you were crazy, but usually that's what you run across. So if you see wall hangers, I have on occasion seen people that got wall hangers and realized this isn't a wall hanger at all. Someone I know bought a lamp that was made out of a Steyr rifle. So it was the rifle on a wooden base, and at the very top there was, like a reading lamp. So it was sitting next to somebody's easy chair at an estate sale, and they took it. I think the lamp was $10 or something like that. So they took it home, and looking at the gun was complete. The action worked. Everything was there. It wasn't in super shape, like it hadn't been oiled for all those years, but it was still solid. It had some light surface rust, and the barrel was plugged. But on checking the barrel was plugged with a piece of rope. So there's a little bit of corrosion from that rope being in there for 50 years or whatever. But after removing the rope, you technically could fire the gun. So sometimes wall hangers are worth a little bit of extra inspection just to see. Sometimes you can end up with a really good deal on something that's rare, or some guns that you may come across that look like complete junk, like an old crag or something like that, they may be worth restoring, or may have parts that are worth much more than the gun as it sits on a wall. So definitely something to keep an eye on. I'm aware most people that are into guns probably know a little bit about wall hangers and such. And like I said, it's one of those terms that's really elusive to track down. But especially when you're first getting into guns, um, it's something that it's kind of hard to explain because there's so many different ways people use the term wall hanger. So I figured I would give you a little bit of information. And for Gun and Shot TV, this is Chris saying have a rootin' tootin' drunken shooting day. Thanks for watching.